Yes, there will be baseball. After a 99-day lockout, we now have a complete 162-game schedule starting with opening day on April 7th. To celebrate the return of baseball, we want to do a wow promotion, so here we go. The first 50 customers will get the full season of MLB, including the playoffs, for just over $3 per day. How much of a wow is this? MLB through the All-Star break is priced at $7.95 and through the World Series is priced at $1,095. But the first 50 customers can get MLB through the World Series for $6.99. No coupon is needed, and this comes out to just over $3 per day. Once we hit 50 redemptions, the super early bird discount will come down and the lowest possible price to lock in baseball will no longer be available. So act fast before you get shut out on our biggest price drop ever.
We are live, and it is Wednesday, March the 16th, and we are ever so close to the NCAA tournament coming in full swing. Hey, look, we got a couple play-in first 4 games last night on Tuesday. We got 2 more of them tonight on Wednesday. We got a ton of NIT action as well, but the big stuff starts tomorrow morning on Thursday, exactly 24 hours from now as we're doing this show live, Teddy Covers. We'll be inching towards the start of the big NCAA tournament round of 64. That is Teddy Covers, my co-host as always for WagerTalk Today. I'm Steve Merril, filling in for the Prez, who is inching ever so closer to Teddy Covers in the Vegas vicinity as we speak. And I will have Marco D'Angelo on in a few moments as well. He's also hiding from the Prez, but I think the Prez knows your address and Marco's. Apparently he does not know Dave Sharapan, we found out yesterday. Teddy, huge show as always on Wednesday. We're going to have Matt Joseph's mid-major Matt after Marco D'Angelo. And it's a good time to have Matt on. He specializes in those mid-major, smaller conference teams. We're going to talk about some college basketball with him, including Southern Utah against Kent State and Longwood, Tennessee. That's some mid-major action for you right there. Marco D'Angelo is going to look at a couple NIT games tonight on Wednesday, including Mississippi State, Virginia, Dayton, Toledo. You've got a big game breakdown in between on ESPN, Celtics Warriors, NBA style. And then, of course, Arthur DiCesare from the Westgate Sportsbook Supervisor in Las Vegas. Can't wait to talk to him about this March Madness as well. But, Teddy, before we get to all of that, need to know what you learned last night on Tuesday.
There's a huge betting story right now, and it's an interesting one. This, of course, coming from the Westgate Superbook, where Arthur DiCesare works. We'll ask him about it later in the show. But there was an issue last week where a bettor went into the Westgate and made big bets, not little bets, big bets on the Bucks at 60-1 to win the Super Bowl and at 30-1 to win the NFC. And then the Westgate lowered the odds, as they will when they take a big wager, and the guy bet them all again to win the Super Bowl and to win the NFC and big bets. Here's a quote from Cornegay. There's not a doubt in my mind that they knew, the bettor knew, he was coming back, meaning Tom Brady was coming back when they placed those wagers on Thursday, 3 days before Brady's announcement. These were not casual bettors. They would be categorized as educated bettors. It wasn't a guy with a Tom Brady jersey at the counter. It was a player that we would describe as sharp. With that type of play and the announcement we heard that he was unretiring, there was information that was shared prior to his official announcement. So basically what Cornegay is saying is somebody knew something, somebody told somebody something, and this is a problem because we just booked a big Tampa wager at 60-1 to win the Super Bowl and 30-1 to win the NFC. Now look, books clean up on future book wagers. All right, the sports books have them prominently posted near the entrance all year round because they make a whole lot of money on these wagers. And when they don't make money on these wagers, you start to see concern in the books. But here's a situation where a smart bettor may or may not have known something. Cornegay thinks that he does. How do you get that info? What's going to happen with these wagers? Interesting story, and it's getting some national pub. Obviously, all the betting stories are getting national pub right now. But what do you think of that story, Steve? Do you think it's an issue for that the bettor shouldn't be able to have those bets down because the lines were up at the time?
I've got a pretty strong 100% opinion on this one. If they somehow figure a way to cancel that bet, that is ridiculous. Ridiculous. I mean, these aren't prop bets like you get at the offshore sports books where it says, all wagers void if information is announced beforehand, talking about like who's going to play, where's Aaron Rodgers going to play next. I'm sure some of the offshores had that up a couple weeks ago. And obviously information is going to break instantly and the book might not know it before somebody else. I've got no problem with them voiding that. That's in written rules. These are future bets. And sharp sports bettors, the one big edge that they get over the books all the time is having injury information ahead of time. That's why you see those lines steam. We talked about it yesterday with that Suns game and the Pelicans here. We saw the line jump a point as we were doing the show live because, a guy's been up, McCall has been upgraded to probable, right? Somebody bet that maybe before the books moved it from 4.5 to 5, or from 5.5 down to 4.5. So there is no way 100% this wager should be canceled. Now, we'll talk to Marco. Let's bring Marco D'Angelo on. I mean, maybe there's some etiquette we could do as where, making that bet. Maybe you don't come back and hit him a second time, Marco. Maybe you hit him once, you give him a heads up, right? And maybe they're going to ban the guy. And I got no problem with that. Sports books aren't in the business to cater to sharps. If they don't want to take sharp action, that's fine. But the Westgate, they have a reputation for taking all action, sharps and squares, in my opinion. Was this Martha Stewart walking up there? Is she going to go to prison now for insider trading? We don't have those rules in sports betting. So I'm pretty adamant about this one. I don't think there was any funny business. I'd like to know how the guy knew ahead of time. And one final thought, if he was really trying to mask it, he should have gone out and bought a Tom Brady jersey and wore that up there and had a couple beers in his hand, maybe, Marco, and that might have gotten away with it in the short term at least. But Marco D'Angelo, WagerTalk.com, your thoughts on that?
Well, guys, first off, that's the easiest way to get yourself banned from a sports book. You got a nice ticket and you've got a huge edge, but I don't think they're going to be too receptive to this particular bettor moving forward. The bigger picture is, and this is something that, everybody cried about at the beginning whenever we started to see the legalization of sports betting, is although this is not fixing a game, this is definitely information. If he got it from somebody, which he had to get it from somebody that was close to Tom Brady, obviously, to know that Brady was coming back to make this wager. Because let's be honest, unless Aaron Rodgers was going to Tampa Bay, there's no other scenario that you would have been betting Tampa Bay to win the Super Bowl this year, given the roster the way it was left when he retired. So definitely somebody knew something, and people are going to question that. And it's the integrity issue on the NFL side. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I don't see how Westgate can cancel it. Like you said, Steve, they got to honor the wager as it was taken, but I don't think that guy's going to get a lot of play moving forward, or he's going to be a restricted player. And sometimes you have to look at the big picture. Is one score worth making, a big score and then you're done? Eventually, if you evaporate all of your outs, you're in trouble.
So I'm pretty sure that it's not a situation where the Westgate's trying to cancel these wagers. What the Westgate is trying to do is to protect themselves from people with inside info in the Tom Brady camp. Where did that info come from? And the only comp that I remember was when LeBron was a free agent out of Miami. And all of a sudden, a day or two before he signed in Cleveland, the line on the Cavs to win the title, there were big bets over and over again on Cleveland to win the title when he went back to Cleveland. And of course, that year, the Cavs ended up making the finals, but coming up short. So none of those tickets actually cashed for Cleveland to win the title. But that's the only other time that I can think of a free agent move that somebody might have known something that brought in big action for the books. But the bottom line for the Westgate is it's not about canceling these wagers. It's about protecting yourself in the future. Somebody's got inside info. That's never good for the bookmakers.
Yeah, and I'll close with saying, Teddy, first of all, if you'd had the over-under on Monday morning when we'd finally talk about Tom Brady, I would have taken under Wednesday. So it took us a couple days to get here, but this was worthy of talking about. And as Teddy said, we have Arthur DiCesare on here in about 30 minutes from the Westgate, so maybe we'll quickly revisit this as well, even though it's the dawn before March Madness. Also, it's interesting to me that he didn't play the NFC title. He just played the Super Bowl. Apparently, I don't know a lot about the story, but he didn't play NFC Conference Championship. Sprinkled it on both at the same time would have been interesting as well. And final thought, Teddy, is, he's not necessarily going to guarantee to win this, as you said, and the sports books have a lot of ways to hedge this still. Obviously, if Tampa makes the Super Bowl, you're going to probably get a pretty good price on the other team in that title game, in my opinion, depending on what the point spread or money lines are. They could hedge it that way as well to get some balanced action. Marco, though, we got to talk NIT Wednesday. Before I do so, real quick, on the way to this first game, show us your shirt. Remind people about that Westgate meeting this Saturday, a little puck time action there. That's a pretty cool T-shirt, actually. We need to get a WagerTalk Today shirt with Prez and a microphone, Teddy, right on the lapel here, and shot it at a mic. But Marco, tell us about the event, and then tell me about my home state, Virginia Cavaliers. Will they be focused tonight against Mississippi State in the NIT?
Yeah, guys. Actually, it's Friday, the meet and greet at the Westgate in the clubhouse right there. If you've never been to the clubhouse at Westgate, it's pretty cool. And what better day? It's the second day of March Madness. So stop by. We got all kinds of swag. I met up with Carmine last night, watched the Golden Knights, and had maybe a few chicken wings were consumed last night, and he gave me the first edition of the Puck Time shirt. There's going to be a lot of stuff at the Westgate, so stop in. We'll be there, I think, from noon to 7 on Friday. So a lot of drinking will be taking place at the Westgate on Friday. Stop by and say hello. And yeah, NIT time, Steve, and you set me up well. The Cavaliers going to be excited tonight. And this is my whole handicap for this game. When you're doing the NIT, I look at these, I call them the consolation tournaments. It's like looking at the bowl games, other than if you're in the national playoff bowls or the New Year's Day bowls. The other bowls, you got to try to figure out, do the teams want to be there? Are they excited to be there? Will they be motivated? And that is the biggest question I've got to ask for the Virginia Cavaliers. Here's a team that has been a perennial top 10 team. Hell, they just won the national championship 3 years ago. Now they're in the NIT. How does this team get motivated to play in the NIT? Now, a lot of times an angle I'll use in the NIT is maybe a young team that, started the season out slow, but as they started to gel and mature, played a great second half of the season, and they used the NIT as a stepping stone to next season. That's not the case with the Virginia Cavaliers here. I'm looking at this team. We know anytime you look at Virginia, they're going to be offensively challenged. And this is a team that in 6 of their last 8 games, they scored 63 points or less. That's nothing new for Virginia. But this year, they weren't exactly locked down defense, and thus they struggled. And to be honest, I don't know how you guys feel. I don't think the ACC was that strong this season. You had a little bit at the top, but as we saw at the end of the season, those top teams beat each other up. Duke, who looked like the team, that was unbeatable, suddenly got beat on Coach K's final home game, gets beat in the championship game against Virginia Tech. I don't think this conference is as strong. I think the SEC, overall was stronger. I'm going to take Mississippi State. And to be honest with you, you're paying for the name Virginia here. I think Mississippi State, power rating wise, is the better team. I've got them. I would have had this at worst as a pick 'em. I'm getting 2.5 up to 3 points now. I'm taking Mississippi State to pull the upset here. And one last stat, Virginia, the last 3 seasons, and, a couple of them were good teams, they still were only 7-19 against the spread when they stepped outside of the ACC the last 3 seasons.
So just a quick question on this. Obviously Virginia's motivation is a question mark, but Mississippi State spent all year saying, we're going to try to get it. This is our year. We're going to the big dance. And then they kind of choked up down the stretch. And we're going to win the SEC tournament, going to the big dance. And then they didn't win the SEC tournament and got smacked by Tennessee. What's Mississippi State's motivation here?
Well, going in, I heard that chatter. I didn't believe the chatter on Mississippi State. I didn't think the roster was as strong coming into the season that they were going to make those kind of reach those goals this year. Ben Howland, one thing you'll get with him is, the team is defensively sound. Neither one of these teams shoot the basketball well especially from 3-point range. The one thing is Mississippi State does play great D against the 3, and I just think Virginia's going to struggle too much offensively to get anything done. This is a team, Teddy, their last 2 games, Virginia scored, 53 or 51 and 43 points. This is not going to be a fun game to watch. I'll tell you that much. And I think points will be at a premium. And I'm going to go with the lesser of 2 evils. Pick your poison. I think this one's easier to swallow, taking Mississippi State.
Yeah, NIT is all about motivation. You got a Virginia team that won the national title just 2 tournaments ago and now not even in the tournament, obviously. So it'll be interesting to see how they show up tonight, if they show up. And by the way, guys, travel is always short notice for these NIT games. You found out Sunday night teams had to play Tuesday last night. The home teams went 7-2 straight up last night. Now they got an extra day to get there. So we'll see of these 7 games how the home teams do tonight. Marco's going with the road team, Mississippi State in the first one. Marco, let's look at another one, Dayton and Toledo, also at 7 Eastern. How interesting would it have been if Dayton had been able to sneak in as one of the first 4 in? Would they have allowed them to play on their true home court? We'll never know because they are at Toledo. It's hard to imagine the tournament would ever allow that, but they're on the outside looking in, and Toledo's about a 1-point home favorite. How are you looking at this one, Marco?
Well, I'm going to take the same avenue here and looking about motivation. Now, you might say Dayton plays with a chip on their shoulder, and I'm sure I'm going to jump the gun because that's what my esteemed colleague Teddy would say to me in the cross-examination on this one with me going with Toledo. But what I am looking at here is not only did Dayton, not get that sneak in, one of the last 4 in spots. They didn't make the tournament. This is a team that, just like Virginia over recent years, has had success. The program's been good. And when it comes to Ohio basketball, between these 2 programs, Dayton is definitely the big brother over Toledo. Now, what I find interesting, although they're only 150 miles apart, Toledo got the home game here. And it's almost like you got little brother against big brother, and you got the home game. You're going to get more fans in the stands for Toledo in this game. And I'm just going to go with the motivation factor here. I think Toledo's going to get the job done. This is a team that can shoot the lights out of the basketball. Now, granted, they played in, the MAC, and we know the MAC, I guess, just like football, doesn't play defense in basketball very often. But this team shot over 50% in 10 of their last 15 games down the stretch. This is a team that had a dynamic home court. They were 13-1 straight up this season on their home floor. Against the spread, the last 2 seasons, Toledo's 18-7 against the spread. In a game where we're going to pick the winner, and I'm questioning if, Dayton feels sorry for themselves that they're not in the big dance, I'm going to go ahead and take the home team, Toledo. And because it is that rivalry, only 150 miles apart, basically, these 2 schools, I'm going to go ahead and take Toledo rather than subscribe to, hey, Dayton has a chip on their shoulder. Now, if Dayton does prevail, they might be a play-on team the rest of the way. We'll see how they handle this one. But my educated opinion is they're going to come up flat tonight at Toledo.
Yeah, and this first game is always the one you got to be careful with. A lot of teams do teams that are maybe not happy to be at the NIT turn the corner and get some motivation after that win. But Dayton, of course, can't play at home tonight because Notre Dame, Rutgers, Bryant, Wright State is using their home court. So they're at a Toledo squad that only lost 1 home game all season, 13-1 straight up at home lane, just 1.5 points. Marco likes Toledo Rockets. Marco will be there Friday from 2 to 7 Vegas time at the Westgate for the meet and greet. It started with puck time. It's become something a lot bigger. Marco, what else you got going on at WagerTalk.com today on Wednesday and later this week?
Well, I'm going to have my plays up later this afternoon. I'll have today's card up in the next hour or so, but I'm going to start putting up plays for Thursday and Friday. And pretty close, looking at a game on Friday that I think is going to get the trigger pulled for a 5% play. We're just finalizing a few things. So check that out, guys. This is the time that, you want to buy. I know people love the big plays, but you know what? If you have a capper that you're confident in, this is the time to grab, an all access, whether it be a 3-day, a 7-day, whatever, because it's going to be nonstop action. A lot of plays will be added late to the system. When you get, lineup changes, we know what the NBA is like. That's been a nightmare where you got to wait till, the next, the day of. No more putting stuff up overnight with the NBA and rosters. Never miss a play with an all-access package, and it's going to be nonstop action. If you've never been to Vegas during the first 4 days of March Madness, there's nothing like it, especially when St. Patty's Day falls on one of the first 4 days. It is total chaos in Vegas.
A lot of green beer and March Madness games tomorrow on Thursday for sure at the sports books. And that's Marco D'Angelo. And he had, of course, had a Puck Time shirt on. And don't forget about hockey. He's on a mere 18-5 run in the NHL his last 23. Teddy, I tell you, it's quiet time. Don't forget about the NHL. And don't forget about the NBA. Teddy covers on a mere 19-4 NBA run. My goodness. So you might want to pay attention 30 seconds from now because Teddy's breaking down tonight's big late-night ESPN game between the Celtics and Warriors. Big game breakdown, 30 seconds.
Yes, there will be baseball. After a 99-day lockout, we now have a complete 162-game schedule starting with opening day on April 7th. To celebrate the return of baseball, we want to do a wow promotion, so here we go. The first 50 customers will get the full season of MLB, including the playoffs, for just over $3 per day. How much of a wow is this? MLB through the All-Star break is priced at $7.95, and through the World Series is priced at $1,095. But the first 50 customers can get MLB through the World Series for $6.99. No coupon is needed, and this comes out to just over $3 per day. Once we hit 50 redemptions, the super early bird discount will come down, and the lowest possible price to lock in baseball will no longer be available. So act fast before you get shut out on our biggest price drop ever.
It is time for today's big game breakdown. Let's talk a little NBA. Right now, look at the WagerTalk live odds screen. I'm seeing Golden State pretty much -2 in most locations. We have seen some Celtics money this morning. Total sitting, let's call it 219.5 right now. We have seen some under money this morning. And I agree with both. I agree with the Boston money. I agree with the under money. The under money might be the stronger of the two. Look. What did we just see from the Celtics in their last game when they're facing a Dallas Mavericks team that also has been playing pretty good basketball? 95-92, game stays 26.5 points under the total, never sniffed an over, a defensive struggle. The Celtics are really good defensively. They're exceptional defensively. And we've seen the numbers just improve as the season has progressed. Now they're coming off a loss. Head coach Udoka, quote, "Our goal is to play as well as we've been and let it carry over onto the road trip." Their first West Coast swing back in December, they only went 1-4. Quote, "We've been talking about improving through the month of March. Our easy goal is to play better than our last West Coast trip. We've obviously improved since then." Boston's been real good off a loss, and they're absolutely stifling teams defensively, like that 95-92 game against the Mavericks, in which the shots weren't falling. Now, Golden State got Draymond Green back, and boom, the first game back, the offense is going nuts. Steph Curry scores 47. They hang 128 on the Washington Wizards. There's no comparison between the Wizards defense and the Celtics defense. And while we appreciate what Draymond Green brings to the offensive end of the court, number one, Golden State not likely to have Wiggins tonight, and number two, Green brings every bit as much, if not more, to the defensive side of the court. Here's the Stephen Kerr quote: "Everything looks and feels a bit different. It's tougher to navigate defensively for our opponent. I haven't even mentioned his defense yet. Draymond changes everything for us." Yeah, 219.5 looks a little bit rich for this better. Look for the Celtics and the Warriors to stay under the total. I would not be surprised at all to see Boston win and cover this evening. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Merril.
Yeah, and don't forget about the NBA. It's a huge card tonight on Wednesday. There's just one game tomorrow on Thursday, so get your NBA action in tonight on Wednesday. Basically, everybody is playing. They're sneaking it in before the tournament starts, and we'll have a ton of NBA action at about 4:15 Eastern with NBA Tip-Off today. I will be guest hosting for Joe Ranieri, and Teddy will be on along with me with Andy Lang and Ronald Cabangs. We got a great NBA show, Teddy, at 4:15 Eastern today for some more NBA talk right here on the network. We're going to get to Matt Josephs in one moment. I want to let everybody know my NCAA bracket is out. I got a ton of people on Twitter asking me, emailing me, hey, when's your bracket going to be ready? I was trying to get it out Monday night, so we could take advantage of $9 Monday. We missed that window because I didn't want to rush things, but I got it out last night on Tuesday. Normally it's $99 for the bracket. I bumped it down to $25, but we're going to do it even better for viewers of the show here. Since we missed $9 Monday, get my bracket right now for $9 with promo code MM2022. That's MM, like March Madness 2022. MM2022 gets that entire bracket for $9 from Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. That includes all 63 games, 9 first-round upsets, bonus upset picks if you do multiple brackets, and also a national title long shot. So, look, it's a lot of value for $9. I don't know why I'm doing this. It's because I like you all, but take advantage of that promo code MM2022. Get my complete bracket for $9 right now. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Speaking of college basketball, there's nobody better with the mid-major under-the-radar teams than Matt Josephs, and he lives for those mid-major teams. In fact, his mother put it in his birth name, Mid-Major Matt at sportsmemo.com. And Matt, we're going to look at one of the NCAA games first. But before that, we're going to look at one of these college basketball. What's the name of this thing? The college basketball. It used to be the College Insider Tournament. What are they calling it now, Matt? And give us a little information on that.
Well,
I get to do my Tony Finn impersonation. There he is.
It's the College Basketball Classic, and it was a tournament that was supposed to have 32 teams. They ended up with 21, and then a couple of teams backed out because they didn't have enough players, so it's down to 19. So it's been kind of poor. It's almost like the Vegas 16 that we had that one year, but it's doing poorly to start off. But if it's a game out there we can handicap, we'll certainly do so. And I think tonight, look, as Marco just talked about, when it comes to these postseason games that are not the NCAA tournament, it's all about motivation. And I'm looking at Kent State tonight in terms of what's their motivation. This is a Kent State team that was, 40 minutes away from a championship in the MAC against their hated rival Akron. The players who were really into that matchup got suspended for a half. They lose that game. They get blown out, and now they're sitting feeling bad about themselves. And they have to fly out to Utah to take on a Southern Utah team that's 11-3 at home. I'm going to take the value of the home dog in this one. 1.5 is what I see out there. I also like the over, but that's shot up 4 points since then. My all-access clients got the over when it first came out. But I think Southern Utah, who has all the motivation in the world to play this sort of game against a Kent State team, wants to fly out there after losing to their rival in a big MAC championship game. I think Southern Utah wins this game outright. I'll take a chance with the points instead of the money line, though. Give me the Thunderbirds of Southern Utah tonight in the Basketball Classic.
Yeah, just real quick. Let's assume that motivation wasn't an issue here. Okay, that both teams were equally motivated. Would you be interested in the underdog? Are there matchups that work in their favor, or is this purely a motivational type play?
Well, I mean, even if it wasn't, regular, even if it was just a regular season game, the flying out to Utah and Southern Utah being a very solid team at home, they're very good offensively, even though they lost Heavy and Jones a couple weeks ago. And Kent State's defense has traveled in the past, but yeah, I mean, you're right, Teddy. In terms of the motivation, that is a huge factor here. If this was a regular season game that was being played in Kent State, I'd be on Kent State. But it's being played in Southern Utah. Quick turnaround here because remember, the MAC championship was on Saturday. They didn't know their opponent until Monday. So, 48 hours later, they're playing now in Utah. And look, Kent State's a better team on paper, but we don't play these games on paper, and the motivation angle is huge in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think you definitely handicap it, Matt, a lot like the NIT. And by the way, altitude at Cedar City, Utah, 5,800. That's a higher than Boulder, which is 5,300. So you definitely got my loved altitude factor in a unique home court situation for a Kent State team that's not interested. That's the College Basketball Insider, College Basketball Classic Tournament, whatever they're calling that thing. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on. The Basketball Classic, first round. I can't get it right, guys. Let's look at the NCAA Tournament, Matt, something I definitely know a little bit more about. And look, our Longwood Lancers have made it for the first time ever. I think it's like the first time they even had a winning record. They came up from Division III just a few years ago. 4 state teams in Virginia here with me and Matt got automatic bids. VCU and Virginia not in the tournament. Who would have thought it'd play out that way? Thought Longwood got a pretty favorable seed, Matt. What are your thoughts on that one?
So I think they got a favorable seed, and I'm still going back and forth on whether or not they're actually going to cover this game, but I love the over in this contest. I think that the over is in play here, and you look at Longwood steps up in competition. They gave up 106 to Iowa. They lost 106-73 way back in the first game of the year, November 9th. I mean, you can take a little bit out of that, but I mean, it's also November 9th. This team is a whole lot better than then. And then they played against Georgetown. And it was a 91-83 type of game. Now, look, pace is going to be a bit of an issue here. Neither team wants to run, and Tennessee's defense is really good, but if you dig into the numbers a little bit more, Tennessee gives up a lot of three-point attempts. Almost 40% of the opponent's shots against them are three-pointers. Well, Longwood wants to bomb away from three-point land, and they're 5th in the country in three-point percentage. And all they have to do is make a couple of them, and I think we're going to find some success. Now, flip things over to the Tennessee offensive side. Longwood's two-point defense is 319th. They don't have the size inside. They're going to struggle to get offensive rebounds. Tennessee's offense was underwhelming in SEC play, but if you look at them outside of SEC play against teams that don't often see them, their offense was highly successful. I could see like an 82-67 type of game here. I think this thing sails over that total. I think it's way too low. There may not be a ton of possessions, but I think there's going to be effective possessions and a lot of points scored when these teams have the ball.
Yeah, if there's ever a time to follow mid-major Matt Joseph at sportsmemo.com, now is the time, because he lives for these mid-major teams like Longwood and others, as you saw, talking about Southern Utah as well. And, we talked about Longwood being overseeded. Tennessee, I think almost everyone thought was maybe a 2 seed, and they got a 3 seed. So here again, they're complaining about being underseeded, but they got a favorable matchup here against probably a very weak 14 seed. And the point spread, 18, shows that. Matt, you've been red hot. What else you got going on at sportsmemo.com? What are your recent runs?
Well, we went 2-0 last night in the NIT, an easy over on the Vanderbilt over and Cleveland State, who got way too many points. That was an easy winner. I was going to offer out tonight's game, just gave you the side that I liked, and I liked the over, but it went up 4 points, so the all-access clients got in early. So I got my Thursday package up right now, a bunch of games there to check out at sportsmemo.com, working on Friday as well. You can find all that stuff at sportsmemo.com. Also, K-prop season coming up soon in Major League Baseball, one of the best in the business when it comes to the K-props.
Yeah, no, Matt's also pretty good in MLB as well. So don't forget about baseball. And we got some super early bird specials as well at both Sports Memo and at Wager Talk. That's Matt Joseph, sportsmemo.com. Go get a mid-major, Matt. This is his time of year, Teddy. And I'll tell you, another guy whose time of year it is Arthur DiCesare at the Westgate. And I know he's focusing on March Madness. He's focusing on college basketball. But as we talked about the lead of the show, there's some football sharks out there you got to watch as well. They're floating around. And now he's got to worry about the baseball sharks, as Matt said, because baseball's back. Also, with no further ado, let's bring in Arthur DiCesare, sportsbook supervisor at the Westgate in Las Vegas. And Archie also got a little get-together from 2 to 7 maybe on Friday that might cause you some havoc as well there at the Westgate with the Wager Talk crew. So I'll throw it to you. How have things been going, Art? And I know you're looking forward to Friday. You're looking forward to tomorrow for basketball, but we got to ask you real quick, the Tom Brady situation, your take on that from what happened with that futures bet.
Well, first of all, good morning, gentlemen. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's just something that happens. And I mean, I look at it like this. Our guy Jay said what he said, and, he feels the way he feels. And, as someone who works at the Westgate, I'm going to be behind him and stand behind him. And listen, we just move on. I mean, the bottom line is football season is down the road. That's in 6 months. It's more time to worry about March Madness and what's going on there. And I'll say this, as far as
well, yeah, I'll say this.
So Teddy, he's not going to say that.
Oh, we have so much you want to ask.
Jay cut his feet. Did Jay cut his feet? I mean, I need to know. No, I thought he would. Look, he's in a tough spot. He works at that book, so we're not trying to put him in a position, to cause trouble. But like you said, Teddy, I mean, it's a situation where they could take a big hit if Tampa wins. If they win's a big question, though.
So let me make this very clear. I don't think the Westgate did anything wrong. It's not like Cornygate coming out and saying, hey, I don't like this inside info trading at my book. Sure. Somebody knew something, and that's a problem for us. I don't think that's anything the Westgate's doing wrong. And this whole they're going to try to cancel the wagers. I haven't heard anything like that.
Okay.
From the Westgate.
Yeah, I hadn't either. You knew more about the story. I didn't know if that's the way it was going. That's where I would have had a problem, like I said. But if they're not trying to, I'm good with everything else.
But the issue is that anytime someone's got quote unquote inside information, that's a problem for bookmakers. Okay, because in theory, you're supposed to be both sides have equal information, and whoever can react to the information quicker is going to have the advantage. But it's certainly a scenario for the sports books that if someone out there is getting good info and betting it early when they probably shouldn't have that info, that's a leak that has to be fixed in one way or another. So I just got a text from Marty, said he got booted. So hopefully we'll be able to get him back on in just a minute. Let me just text him back.
Yeah, and Teddy, you know what I'll say also is who else it's not good for? It's not good for all the other bettors out there. Because what's the solution if you're worried about inside information? First of all, you're either not going to offer as many options on the betting menu to protect yourself, or you're just going to chop the odds. Because like Teddy said at the beginning of the show, the future odds are already not great bets, folks. If you do the math, the household is pretty tremendous. And then you got to factor in the fact your money, your bankroll, if you're betting it right now, your bankroll is being tied up for almost 10 months until the payoff, 10 and a half months actually to be exact. So there's that cost of lost money in your daily bankroll that you have to factor in as well. So the household, the bankroll hold, very few times is it worth making future wagers. The only time it's worth it, in my opinion, is when you're getting a big payday because you're not risking as much. So there again, you're not tying up as much money. So when you get a top 3 or 4 team with Tampa now that's at a big price, that's worth a futures wager 10 months ahead of time. Unfortunately, what they're going to do now, instead of putting them at 50 to 1 or 30 to 1, whatever they were, maybe Brady comes back, we're going to keep them at 10 to 1. So there's just absolutely no value. Don't take any action on it. So that's also somebody that loses out on this situation is every other bettor who doesn't have that inside information. Art, I think we get you back. We'll close on this if you want to finish anything real quick, and then we'll get some college hoops. But just your closing thoughts on the Brady situation, I guess.
Nope. Easy come, easy go.
But Teddy, you get what I'm saying though on the future odds, right? I mean, they're already kind of skewed to start with, and if you're worried that hey, maybe this guy unretires, you're not going to see 30 to 1, right? They're just going to keep it at 10 to 1, and because they're not going to take that risk. I mean, they'll get to take some sucker bets from Tampa at 10 to 1.
When you think about the big scores that bettors have gotten in the Super Bowl, in the future wagers, all right, the St. Louis Rams at 200 to 1 and 100 to 1 winning that Super Bowl, and then in years after that,
listen,
you weren't seeing 200 to 1.
It is what it is. The guy got in early. He was able to make his bet. Exactly.
Yeah, we're having all kinds of issues.
Yeah, it's all right. It's okay. We'll get Dan the man, our producer, to try to reconnect with you if we can get the audio going. We'll ask you some March Madness, but Teddy, March Madness futures is something I wanted to ask him. If you heard, we didn't ask Sharepen yesterday. If you heard any rumblings around town, see, March Madness is different because they put the odds up now, right? And nobody knows the matchups until now. So, have you ever heard any stories on a big score? Obviously these first fours making the Final Four, like Mason, and then Mason back in the day, and VCU, UCLA, I guess, could give the book some scares. But this is something that normally doesn't happen in NCAA tournament. Would you agree?
Sure. If I'm going to make a future bet in the NCAA tournament, it would be on a team, let's say, like a George Mason, to reach the Final Four. I'm not going to ask them to win a title, but odds to reach the Final Four. You can get some attractive prices on some long shots. And when you look at a year like this year where you say, hey, maybe some of these 1 and 2 seeds are a little bit vulnerable, and there could be a carnage region or two. I don't mind looking a little bit deeper down the board. But my bet is to win the final. This isn't like a Man City scenario. We're looking at 5,000 to 1 to win the EPL. And that's right. Another one where when the books took that type of a hit, you don't see 5,000 to 1 anymore. Now you see 500 to 1.
Exactly.
So there's a long-term ratcheting of the future book odds, a little bit lower, a little bit lower, a little bit lower. And then all of a sudden someone has a long shot score and the whole process starts all over again. So in general, with the answer, look, until I said which team's going to win it all, Gonzaga's the favorite. They deserve to be the favorite. They're the best team in the country. Can someone beat Gonzaga? Absolutely someone can beat Gonzaga. If I'm looking to make a score, I'm not going to bet the Zags to win it all. I'm going to bet on a long shot to reach the Final Four. And you can find a 10 or a 15 or a 20 to 1 on some teams that may well be live.
Hey, Art, let's try one more time with you here to see if the magic will work here. Give me a little audio check. We want to get your thoughts.
Come on,
on
third
March
time's a
Madness.
charm. Come on.
Oh, look at that!
Yes.
The third time is beyond a charm. Hey, look, I think we all on the same page on the Brady situation. So if you have any closing thoughts, that's fine. But otherwise, love to get your talk about what's going on with the tournament so far this week at the Westgate.
Yeah, listen, boys, it's going to be a busy week. And, I know you mentioned the thing on Friday. We might have to escort Prez out of there if he shows up on Friday. This guy shows up to the Westgate the other night. He's basically screaming and yelling for me. Hey, is Arthur DiCesare here? Carmine looked embarrassed. I felt bad for Carmine. He was, basically shaking his head. So, listen, I can't wait to see everyone on Friday. I don't know about Prez, though, man.
Boot him. 86 of them. Read him the riot
He would
act.
live for that. You know how often he'd tell that story if you – no, you're just making him stronger. You're feeding that energy if you boot him. It's a bad situation either way.
Oh, man. But, yeah, no, it's gonna be a great week, man. This should be a lot of fun. We had a lot of people in the book yesterday. People start really trickling in today. They kind of get in town today to kind of get ready for tomorrow. Today will be very busy. We'll have lines all day, all night. We have extended hours. A lot of people signing up for the app. A lot of stuff going on. And then obviously Thursday and Friday, it's just, there's nothing like those 2 days. So we're going to have a lot going on these next couple days.
So let's get into it because we got limited time. And I want to ask you who the wise guys like and who the public likes. Let's start with Thursday's action. Who are you seeing the sharp money attracted to? Who are you seeing the public money attracted to? Any games that stand out on Thursday's Big Dance card?
Well, let me just throw out tonight in the first four. There's some good Notre Dame money that's come in. So, the 16 games don't really attract much. Yesterday, we had a really good Indiana crowd in the book, so a lot of Indiana people were around. Tonight, it's Notre Dame, so you've seen a lot of good Notre Dame money come in. As far as Thursday goes, the first couple you got to throw out, Arkansas, Vermont. You've taken a lot of Vermont stuff. Vermont has become like this dog darling. We basically had it 6.5. It's now sitting at 5. So a lot of people are feeling good about taking the Catamounts. Vermont is one to definitely keep your eye on. I kind of wrote down like 8 or 10 games that we have liability on. Vermont is going to be one of them. So you got to throw Vermont in there. South Dakota State, Providence. Providence has gotten no love all year. They just haven't. They've been a team. They're sitting as a 4 seed. They're 50-1 to win their region. So no love for them. The computer numbers, Ken Tom, hate Providence. People are going to love to take the Jackrabbits. Jackrabbits are only getting 2, but there's going to be a lot of South Dakota State money line and spread. So that's another one on Thursday. And then one more to throw out there on Thursday that I would say that is attracting good money, actually on both sides, is UNC open -2. It's now 3.5. So you've seen good UNC money, and you see good money on that over. It was 148, now 152, 152.5. So that game has seen good UNC money and over money.
So I want to ask you real quick before we look at Friday's games, Art. Is that public money we're talking about? Is that wise guy money we're talking about? Is that a mix where the pros and the Joes are lining up on these same sides? But you brought up 3 games for Thursday. Would that be pros, Joes, or both?
I think now it's a little bit of both. Early on, it's sharp money. When these numbers first come out, we start putting them out right after Selection Sunday. We basically get a region out at a time. So basically about 45 minutes to an hour after Selection Sunday, we started to post games. The first people who are betting into these games are the sharp bettors. Public, like I said, is not getting here until yesterday or today. So definitely sharp money early. Public is obviously starting to trickle in and make some of these bets.
Yeah, and Art, I'm going to try to get a Fade the Public college basketball style video up later today here for the viewers on WagerTalk TV. But I wanted to talk to you first today is one of the reasons I held off, just in big picture. And let us know if you see anything Friday as well. But does the public kind of take this day by day? Is it going to be heavier money Thursday? They roll it back over Friday. Also, what role do we get with the public? I always feel like there's a lot more public dogs this time of the year in high-profile games. And then also, final question with that is that, do they stay away from these big point spreads like these 116 games? You get less public action in general and that even less sharp action. Just your thoughts kind of on Friday and big picture in general.
Yeah, definitely. As far as the 116 goes, unless you're a Gonzaga alum, you're an Arizona person, yeah, okay. You might lay the number. You might just sprinkle them into a money line. Not that it's going to do anything for your 6 or 8 team money line parlay. But the double-digit seeds that attract the most, no surprise, are the 12-5. But the 13-4 also has become like the new 12-5. There's, and you see that with Arkansas, you see that with Providence, that the other sides of those games are attracting stuff. I think I saw something in like the last 3 or 4 tournaments, like the 13 has won like 5 or 6 of these games. So
5 of the last 12, 5 and 7 the last 3 years. This 13's won outright, and the 10, or is it the 10? Or the 10, the 11 has beaten the 6, 23 the last 44 going back to 2010. The 11s have won more games. So that's it. So Art, do you agree that the public definitely is more comfortable with dogs this time of year?
No doubt about it, especially the first 2 days, and they're comfortable in that range. They're comfortable, like you said, Steve, in the 11, 12, and 13 seed range. They're comfortable not only taking the point spread, but some of them will find some of the money lines they like. And I even look at it like this. If you have the 11, the 12, and the 13s, that's 12 games. People are going to be able to find round robins that they can do with money lines. They're going to be able to do all sorts of things because we all know, we've watched this tournament for a million years. They're going to be upsets. There just are.
Sure.
You just have to find what they are. Not only point spread wise are some of these smaller schools going to cover, but some are going to win outright. So, yeah, definitely a lot of public dogs this time of year, no doubt about it.
So,
Teddy, do we dare ask him about quiet time? Ask him if there's any value in the NBA this time of year. Do we dare ask him that?
Well, I want to, because we got a couple of, he talked about teams that are attracting sharp money for Thursday, including Vermont, South Dakota State, and North Carolina, and the over in the North Carolina game. What about for Friday? What are we seeing in terms of the early first round action for bettors on Friday? Who do the pros like? Who do the Joes like?
So early on, a couple of games, and once again, it's going to be dogs. There's just going to be plenty of them. Jacksonville State took some good money early on against Auburn, 16.5. It's now 15.5. A little bit tougher when it's a 15 seed against a 2, but I don't know. A lot of people didn't like what they saw out of Auburn going down. And actually, another thing to throw on Auburn, we have a lot of prop bets as far as the tournament goes at WagerTalk. Number 1 seeds to advance, how many wins the Big Ten will have, teams to not make the Sweet 16. I saw a lot of love, too, for Auburn not to make the Sweet 16 at plus 200. I'm not saying they would lose their first-round game, but a lot of people look towards that USC-Miami matchup they would get in the second round, and a lot of people feel maybe Auburn doesn't get to the second weekend. So some love for Jacksonville State. Colgate's been another one. Wisconsin has been terrible as far as the computer numbers go. And, they're probably a pretty weak 3 seed. Now, not a lot of people are going to know much about Colgate. It actually is a little bit lower over spread. I know 7.5 is not, how can you say that's low? But if you just look at a 14 and a 3, some love for Colgate as well at the 7.5. And one more to throw out there. UAB Houston. Houston is interesting because they're 5th in Ken Palm and they're the 5th seed. But we have them actually as the 2nd team to win that region behind Arizona. We have Arizona slotted as number 1 to win that region. Then Houston, followed by Tennessee and Villanova. So we feel better about Houston's chances to make the Final Four than even Tennessee or Villanova. But you saw some UAB money come in at 9.5. It's now sitting at 8.5. So some early love for UAB.
Yeah, I'm with you, Art. In fact, I mentioned that earlier this week. Ken Palm had him as almost a 1 seed, barely a 2 seed. And if you look at the Sagrigans, I think they're like 4th or 5th overall. But if you look at the predictor rating, which is close to a point spread, they're 3rd. They'd be a 1 seed in the Sagrigans, and they're a 5th seed. And they play slow half defense, which is always deadly dangerous in the tournament 1-game setting. So, yeah, Houston could definitely be a little bit of a sleeper if they get by UAB. They're only an 8.5-point favorite, as you said.
And they were in the Final Four last year. So...
I thought they were the most underseeded team in the tournament this year for what it's worth. And you mentioned that 3-14, Wisconsin an 8-point, Tennessee, as we talked about earlier, an 18-point favorite as a 3 seed in their game against Longwood. Arthur DiCesare, he's a great follower. He's a great follower. He's a great follow on Twitter at ArtDice21. It's also a great Twitter handle at ArtDice21. Westgate Superbook Sportsbook Supervisor. A lot of supers there. I love it. And Art, let people know what else you got going on at the Westgate. I know during the football season, do reduced juice Thursdays. I don't know if you guys dare to do that with the tournament games, but also big party 2 to 7 this Friday at the Westgate. And Prez will tell you where Art is hiding during the party. He'll be able to locate him for you if you can't find him. What else is going on at the Superbook?
Yeah, I mean, listen, guys, hope everyone's down there, obviously Thursday, but even Friday as well. And there's obviously going to be a big, nice party in the clubhouse. I'll obviously be popping in and out between all the craziness I'm doing. But we also still have, our March Madness contest where you're basically picking the first 28 games against the spread. We didn't obviously have the playing games that are going to be involved in there. So you're going to pick 14 on Thursday and 14 on Friday. It's going to be up to three contest entries, 100 an entry. Basically pay the top three like all of our season wins contests that we do. So there's still time to sign up for that. So come down if you need any help to sign up for the app, sign up for the March Madness contest, or anything you need, some swag. We got some shirts I could throw you guys. So anything you need, you just come down to the Westgate, ask for Arthur DiCesare. I'll be there all week, and I'll be happy to help you with whatever you need.
I love it. I love a good contest. That sounds fantastic. So it's another reason if you're in town, don't wait till Friday to go to the Westgate. Go down there here Wednesday night or Thursday morning. Get in that college basketball contest for both Thursday and Friday. You'll have action in every game, something to root for. Thanks, Arthur DiCesare, Sportsbook Supervisor at the Superbook at the Westgate.
I just got to jump in. If you ask for Art DiCesare, ask for him nicely and politely. Don't go screaming through the sportsbook, "Hey, Art DiCesare," like other people do. You walk up to the counter and say, "Hey, is Art working?"
Prez is like my crazy uncle, man. You just got to love him. You got to give him a hug. He's like, "I'm a hugger. Give me a hug." I'm like, whatever you want, Prez.
It's bad when Carmine's the rational one in the group, too. That's also a scary thought. Actually, Carmine's pretty rational, so that's not that funny. But, yeah, we won't name names. By the way, I'm Steve Merril, filling in for the Prez here on WagerTalk Today. That's Teddy Covers. Arthur, hopefully you'll get to catch up with many of the viewers here on Friday at the Westgate. Thanks for joining us, as always. And viewers, thank you for joining us as well. Don't forget to subscribe. I forgot to mention that all week. Hit subscribe. Take 2 seconds to thank us for this great free content. Let's get to 100,000 as fast as we can. Give it a like and comment below. Come on, let us know your long shots for the NCAA tournament, your Final Four picks in the comments below. Teddy will do this again tomorrow. Quick reminder, my bracket is posted at WagerTalk.com. Viewers of this show can get it for $9 with promo code MM2022. MM2022. My complete 63-game bracket, 9 first-round upsets for just $9. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Teddy, take us home.
Sure. I want to thank Marco D'Angelo. I want to thank Matt Josephs and, of course, Arthur DiCesare for taking time out of their busy day to hang out with us here on Wager Talk Today. We'll do it again tomorrow. Same time, same channel. 9 a.m. here on the left coast. Noon for you back east. Between now and then, you know what to do. Enjoy the games and good luck.
Yes, there will be baseball. After a 99-day lockout, we now have a complete 162-game schedule starting with opening day on April 7th. To celebrate the return of baseball, we want to do a wow promotion, so here we go. The first 50 customers will get the full season of MLB, including the playoffs, for just over $3 per day. How much of a wow is this? MLB through the All-Star break is priced at $7.95, and through the World Series is priced at $1,095. But the first 50 customers can get MLB through the World Series for $6.99. No coupon is needed, and this comes out to just over $3 per day. Once we hit 50 redemptions, the super early bird discount will come down, and the lowest possible price to lock in baseball will no longer be available. So act fast before you get shut out on our biggest price drop ever.